All right, yo. Mochi, what are you doing? Yo, yo. Oh my god, we're back. Literally, nothing changed. Well, the background changed. Yo. Okay, I think what we'll do is maybe just try, like, a mission or two more of Bolt Gun, talk about Warhammer stuff, and then probably call it for the day. Something like that. And I think that's good. Yo, 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 yo. Yeah, let's just do Bolt Gun. I haven't played Bolt Gun in a while. Bolt Gun. We need to finish this game. We need to finish the Boomer Shooter Bolt Gun Warhammer 40K. It's a futuristic game. Futuristic setting. Let's see. Is it gonna load? Okay, we're good. Yo, 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 yo. Yeah, we're just gonna chill here for a bit, and then call it, and come back tomorrow for ye good old time again. I do kind of miss not playing games. Like, games aren't bad. It's just games are very... what's the word? They're sometimes very samey. You can kind of get, like, the same feeling from playing different games. You know, you just kind of need something else to do. And I really do wish I could do something else. At least on this channel. Because right now I'm not allowed to. Games are mentally draining? Well, I mean, not necessarily. It's just like... I grew up doing physical things. And now everything I do typically online is, like, very digital. You're just playing games, you're watching movies. Like, that's great, but I need physical, like, manual labor. Not like coal mine labor, but hobbying. Whittling. Doing things with your hands, you know? That's what I mean. Like, the coal mines do not yearn for me, I'll tell you that. Where the fuck is that door? Where's the bloody dome? Where's the door? I mean, there is a story to this game, but it's more of like, you're just basically a Space Marine Doomslayer, and you go through killing everyone. I've seen The Bad Batch, it's pretty good, yeah. It's one of the better ones from, Disney. Thankfully. More like tedious as you get older, for sure. I mean, it's just, you want different things to do. I could never imagine waking up and playing games 24/7 and going to bed without some sort of, like, fill in my day of something else. Like, again, fortunately, I can play games all day if I really wanted to, but it's not as fulfilling to sit here and play a game all day. I could do it for 10 hours a day, but, you know, go out, for God's sake, go for a walk, go garden, go whittle, go woodwork, go fucking scrape some plastic, do something else. I'm so fucking lost. Okay, we gotta ban these guys. Hold up, the bots are here. Ban. Ban. I got him. There we go. Goodbye. The fucking bots are out in full force. Shit. I'm just griefing. Move it. This game feels very good. Like, this game was pretty well made, I'd say. The movement's fluid, the gunplay's fluid, the fucking enemies are obviously very Warhammer, everything's just 40k. This is a good Warhammer game. Be it, it's a very, like, niche one, because it's kind of a boomer shooter. But, you know, typically Warhammer is kind of just niche anyways, right? It's pretty normal, pretty typical. Because I'll tell you right now, there are so many bad Warhammer games. And this is definitely not on that list. You know what you know what they could do? What if they made a boomer shooter where you're an orc and you run around going absolute fucking berserk on everybody? I feel like they could unironically do that and it'd be good. Because obviously, whenever you'd make a Warhammer game, you have to make it about Space Marines. Like, 9 times out of 10, that's what people play this shit for. And not to mention, if they're like the poster boys, it makes sense, right? Warhammer is the biggest, most known niche. Probably, yeah. I could agree. I mean, even then, is it really like a niche anymore if we're also getting like a TV show and all this stuff? Because it soon will be quite mainstream, right? Like, for God's sake, you can even get this shit in Walmart. They sell Warhammer toys in Walmart. In, like, horrible, you know, really bad parts of town that you typically don't want to be in. They've got Warhammer toys. Wait, I've got a Melta. What am I doing? I don't want Space Marines no more. I mean, they are... Space Marines are cool. I'm not even like a big 40k guy, but I do like Space Marines. You know, they're not my favorite, but I don't think I hate... I don't think I hate them. It's just you do see the... You see a lot of them. You definitely do. Bro, Meltas are so broken. Like, holy shit. The aspiring champions are so hard to deal with until you just blast Melta in their face and they're just dead. Oops. Silver Knights are badasses. I have no idea who those are. Is that like a chapter? Is that like a 40k chapter? Fucking hell, I missed the Melta. Okay. Isn't there a fucking amble? Yeah, I'm good. Yeah, the aspiring champion just like fucking insta-kills you. And he's melee too, so he's like, you know, you can run away, but you try to just kill him before he even gets to you and it's just not possible. Bro, the ambles are everywhere. Oh my god. I'm sorry. I'm sorry for existing. Fuck, I'm like one hit. There's supposed to be a purple keycard around here, but I have no idea where the fuck it is. Oh, there it is. I'm so weak. Oh, this is just looping around into the exact same room we were just in. Really? Vulcanite? Caliver? Is this... Wait, am I a Primaris Marine in this game? Isn't this a Primaris weapon? It's an advanced plasma that can't overheat? Okay, there you go. I'm a Stern Guard in this game. I'd like to know where to fucking go. Oh, that's where we go. Malachi blog post tomorrow? Yeah, that'd be nice. I mean, there was also a, there was a recent... Oh, you know what they keep doing that's kind of cool? I'll talk about it later when I'm looking through the article, but, like, they keep doing made-to-order stuff. They're bringing back all of the old sculpts, and it's, like, tempting me to even look at 40k again, because there's so many nostalgic things that I grew up with when I was playing 40k. Because in the recent article about the pre-orders, they're trying to sell you the new Tau, and they're also doing, like, old orcs that are on PO.
Oh, hey, another resub Lamau.
Waifu, thank you, buddy. They keep doing made-to-order stuff, and I was watching a video. Where it was a guy who was talking to, like, the salesperson who dealt with the web store and how much money they made. And for the Khazarkin, if you know what the Khazarkin are, it's like the elite Cadians. When they were first introduced, I think he said like in 2003 or something, whenever the first Khazarkin kit came out in metal, it made $800,000. They put it up again, I think 3 years ago, as made to order, and it made $250,000. Like, that's a lot of money for one kit. For one made to order kit, $250K in 1 week of being online. Like, dude. If the old world doesn't pop off with all of these made to order things, I don't know what to say. Because that's really just what it is, right? It's selling you old stuff. Where should I begin with Warhammer lore? YouTube. YouTube, a wiki? Make food, make something. YouTube, a wiki. I can make food in a little bit if you want, though, if you want to wait. What? Lag. YouTube is usually good for everything. Like, if you want to know something about something, YouTube is like the one place to be. Fucking amble. Why are the ambles everywhere? Yeah, I have no interest in killing the local wildlife. Fuck am I supposed to get in here? Excuse me. I hated this part of the map so much. This looks like the end of the mission. Which, it's the end of the mission, yeah, for sure. Bro, that aspiring champion was... Oh my god, there's a order change. I mean, as long as I just kill the chaff... Although, you know what? You have to kill the Lord of Change to realistically win. He'll probably just keep spawning chaff until he dies. Unless, hold up, we're cooking. Wait, this is so ass. Wait, that gun is fucking terrible, though. What? Yeah. I'm getting the fuck out of here. Oh, it's strength 6, that's why. I didn't realize. I thought it was worse. Or I thought it was better, sorry. YouTube is just good, man. If you want to know anything about something, no matter what it is, yes, YouTube. Your YouTube is good. Yeah, but you can't learn anything while watching it. Just stay away from Major Kill. I mean, it's different content for different people. If you like that sort of like, you know, Discord talk and whatnot, that's fine. If you don't, that's fine too. There's nothing wrong with it, you know? It's just like whatever you're into, man, honestly. Whatever you're into and whatever your style is. Where the fuck am I supposed to go? Looting. Yeah. You know, without Warhammer YouTubers, you'd probably... most people, I'd say, would be kind of screwed on, you know, what to, most Warhammer YouTubers, again, without them, you'd probably be screwed on lore, just because, like, trying to know anything Warhammer related is quite hard. A lot of people don't want to read. I don't blame them, right? So it's either on YouTube, or you go comb the wikis for, like, days on end, weeks on end, or you go buy the books, you know, and if you like reading, then there you go. But, like, for the most part, I don't think people do. And it's not that it sucks. It's just reading isn't everyone's cup of tea, you know? I would have never gotten into Warhammer without you, Toby. Thanks for the debt. Did I really get you into Warhammer? And now you're in debt? Good lad. Oh my god, the unholy butthole. Oh, they do vary, yeah, right, from writer to writer, for sure. I mean, content alone on what's in those books, like, you can have people who are big fans of something, and, you know, they typically just go after and read the Space Marines or the Orcs, this and that. You know, they have varied tastes. Or you have people who love everything and they read everything, which, that's cool, you know, but it does cost quite a bit, right? Reading multiple books, time, money, effort to use your eyes, effort in 2024. Jesus, too much. No, the books are definitely not cheap. Yeah, no way. There is nothing cheap about the books. I mean, even the audiobooks, like, you're paying quite a bit of money for all of them. The fuck? Hello? Am I dead or bugged out? Okay. It's supposed to push you off, but it, like, I get stuck under it. It's fine. I'm just gonna speed run. Well, an audiobook being $40 though, is that not, that's expensive. It's very expensive, right? Like, to me, and to be fair though, I will say this, the audiobooks are amazing. I am trying to get a fucking Audible sponsorship. I like Audible, I use Audible, and I would support Audible, you know, because it's just good. It's very good, but it's, you know, a little bit pricey. It's the same shit. I keep overstepping. Okay, what if I just run through all of it and say, fuck this nonsense? I've never read that, no. Caiaphas Kane is $33 a book with 11 books, $350. I mean, how many people are going to be reading all of that, you know? And to be fair, if you do get into it, you probably will, but I don't think you'd go fork out like $350 to read all of them at once, you know? Like, sure, I've spent more than $350 on something, but you kind of like spend a little bit of time at it. Yeah, you press V. Tired, man. This map is so confusing. Where am I supposed to go? Well, I can't do any hobbying until it was supposed to be at the end of this month, and now it's going to be in the middle of next month. Press it rapidly. Oh, you can right-click this rapidly and it extends the chainsaw. I did not know that. I thought you had to mash V. Not like right-click. Where the fuck am I going, though? Oh. Well, I mean, if you... I think for the most part, do you think people actually want to know everything about 40k? Because I feel the universe is so vast that people always want to know more, but maybe don't want to know everything. You know, they're kind of happy with, like, their little Space Marine lore, or Guard lore, Orc lore, whatever it may be. You know, it's all cool, and you do want to know as much as you can, but... Another Ancient Amble? Maybe just kind of like enjoying certain aspects and not everything at once. Because if you were to start from... The Horus Heresy does have a lot of content, and it is also kind of its own game, right? It's 30k. You know, if you do get into the minis, it's definitely its own thing. For me personally, when I was into Warhammer, I never really bothered with the Horus Heresy, just because I'm not really a big fan of Space Marines. And then you could say, well, if you did, you'd love them. But... It is mashing right click. I didn't realize that. I thought you had to press B. Or sorry, V. Oh my god. Okay, now that I know that the chainsword can actually be used and spammed with one button instead of pressing fucking V, it seems a little bit more convenient, no? It's very fucking convenient. Am I even supposed to be over here? Oh, shit. I will be playing Space Marine 2, yeah. 100%. Wait, what am I supposed to... How do I get back to the start? Am I just, like, trolling? Oh, wait, I just do this. As a Tyranid's main and lover, I accept that there will never be a book about us because our lore is deep as a summer puddle. Well, I mean, because all of the lore for the Tyranids is written from the perspective of the Imperium, right? So it's like, how do you actually write anything about Tyranids and have it work if it's from their perspective, right? The less you know about the Tyranids, the better, right? And that's cool. That's something. But yeah, you do kind of have to, like, come to the realization that the lore of the Tyranids is just so... It's just stuck, for the most part, right? Like, I'm sure they've given them... They've given them an update through, like, one of the newer, what is it, 10th edition? The 10th edition stuff, Leviathan, right? I'm sure they got some new shit. Obviously, new minis, new lore. Stay mysterious and most oh, for sure. I mean, they are the most alien faction. Yeah, the most alien Xenos faction. Yo. I mean, you know, it's funny because, like, the Tyranids have no lore, and they've been around forever. And I'm kind of just waiting for Votan lore, and it's kind of feels like they've been around for forever as well, even though they haven't. Because, like, they initially got their first bouts of lore through the army book, and that's basically it. Never again did we get anything. So I'm waiting, dude. Everyone loves lore updates. Everyone likes new things to talk about and weird things to fucking know. But I think the big thing is, do Tyranids sell well? Or rather, do the Votans sell well enough to even warrant, like, a book or anything anytime soon? Like, good God. It's just so dry for the Votan. I guess the Tyranids would be semi-popular, though, because, again, they did get, like, the new update with, certain sculpts and the new minis and whatnot. And they were half of the new starter set. Highest selling factions, are they really? Interesting. From the Xenos stuff, I believe it. Yeah, for sure. The least popular race, Xenos-wise, it's gotta be the Drakari. It's gotta be the Dark Eldar. I hear nothing, ever, about Dark Eldar. Where the fuck am I supposed to go? Oh. Oh my god, it's a great unclean one. Okay. Holy shit, I'm getting destroyed. What the fuck, my eyes. Okay. Okay. All right. There you go, he's dead. What the fuck? Wait, what did I... What did, oh, it was the door I opened? I was gonna say, what the fuck? Okay, you need to stop typing weird shit. Thank you. Disgusting. I'm good. Hard pass. Wait, is this the right way? It's the same fucking door. Space Marines stay winning. I mean, Space Marines will always stay winning. Because, like, big money. Big dudes, big money. Where the fuck do I go? That's the question. Where do I go? It let me into this place, but what does this place even do for me? Is there anything here that's relevant? I genuinely don't know where to be. That's the puzzle. Not the puzzle, but the bonus. There's still one more part to the mission, just because I haven't killed everything. I'm like 20% off. Where do you go? Tyranids are overpowered, Ultramarine, plot armor, and absolutely powered Plowed Ultramar. I mean, plot armor or not, like, you need to make certain things lose in lore to keep it interesting. It's not like the Space Marines can only win every single engagement they've ever been in, right? And if you want to keep, you know, the one thing in Warhammer a constant threat, it's you never really play off the Tyranids as kind of weak, you know? Like, if there was one Xenos race that had their shit together and was a threat, non-stop, it'd be the Tyranids, right? If it's like if the orcs all banded together and did something, and it kind of just like flew around and, you know, consumed world after world, then maybe. But orcs are too stupid. Too much infighting. Is this the way? This looks like the way. Jesus Christ. Orcs are, yeah, they're literally nerfed because they keep running it down mid. They team kill and they run it down mid non-stop. What did that do? The best race to stop the Tyranids would be the Necrons. Well, of course, because they can't gain anything from beating the Necrons. There's no biomass. There's nothing to work with. If I'm not mistaken, one Krork nearly destroyed the Imperium post-heresy. One Krork? I don't know about that. And maybe that's true, maybe it's not. Like, one fucking Krork. Heresy lore. Old Warhammer. Oh, he was a leader of them? Okay, maybe then, right? Well, weren't the Krorks created to stop the Necrons? Or something like that by the old ones? I mean, Warhammer 40k was made by, like, what? The Slan? From way back when in the Eldar? Yeah. Aliens made aliens and who knows what. What a weird bit of lore, eh? Okay, where do we go? It was the war in the heavens. Yep. Too bad there was no squats at that point, because, like, typically the elves and dwarves are some of the elder races in, like, every setting. But then again, the dwarves in 40k aren't even dwarves, they're just, like, human descendants. We're descendants of humans in 40k. Us as a species, yeah, we come from 40k. I mean, 40k's lore is so big and vast, and it spans, like, what? I don't know how far you could go back to the point where it's, like, retconned, but I'm pretty sure it's been around for... since the 80s, no? Since the early 80s, I believe. Or, like, late 80s was 40k? 87, I think? 83? Something like that. And then even before that, it was fantasy. Like, good God. It's like, how much of that stuff is still canon, you know? I do like the idea that humans were made from ancient god aliens. I mean, something creates something, dude. Gotta be from somewhere. It's pretty funky, though, for sure. Because, I mean, 40k at one point was, what, a rip on, like, Warhammer Fantasy? They basically just took, like, fantasy races, put them into space, and then kind of made them its own thing, you know? Pretty sure that's what that was. Oh my God. This is trash. Oh. Okay. Goodbye. Guten Bayern. Fucking hell. Okay. I honestly don't even care to kill the units, because, like, you're just wasting ammo, to be honest. If I can avoid things, I will. Shit. So now I gotta go to the purple door, which is still this way. Purple door. And now we most definitely get the third key here, and that's it. Oh my God. What the fuck? An amble? Bro, there's just so many random ambles running around in this mission. Or rather, for like half the campaign. I don't think I'll be fighting them. I'm good. I value the ammunition. Okay. Mochi, what are you doing? Is that really the mission? Damn, you can kind of fucking speed run these things. Won't you be speed run this mission? I killed 60% of... Yeah, it's kind of doing nothing. 8 minutes, too. That's not that bad. What do you want? What do you want? Are you hungry? What's up? Where'd you put your squirrels? Okay. I think 3 missions being speed ran on this game, that's good for me right now. I do like Warhammer for having such varied races that can attract so many different types of people. Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, it's just like, it was a rip on Lord of the Rings, and Lord of the Rings had a lot going on, and then it turned into its own thing, and then it kept adding more and more things. Mochi, what the fuck are you doing? What are you doing? You can't see him, but... Mochi, what are you doing? Look at your little skinny legs, dude. You've skipped leg day your whole life. Ow! Stop it, Mochi. He's just... You bite me, bro. Chill out. Are you having fun? You stink like farts. And now my hand smells like dog shit. All right. Since it is almost 11, and I need to keep a schedule, I'm going to look at the article. The new Warhammer article. And... Oh my god, stop. You stop. There's, a new Warhammer article that came out regarding pre-orders. And what I'm thinking is going to happen is after these POs go live, it will most likely be time for the dwarves. Like, that's all I can think is going to happen. Because these are new pre-order previews. This is going to be released, what, next week? This Saturday? Okay, so 2 weeks from now. Wait. Wait. Sunday preview. Is it every Sunday they preview something? And then it takes 2 weeks to come out? So right now it should have been the 14th that they previewed something. The 14th. Wow, it is. Every Sunday. Every single Sunday. Because here's the 14th. And then what was the Sunday before that? The 7th. I guess this is common knowledge, but my brain's a bit too slow. It is. Okay, so every Sunday is a new pre-order. It's a new thing that comes out in 2 weeks. So I'm thinking realistically, the only thing left to show us is probably what's coming back for the dwarves. So the dwarves should be shown on the 28th. They should be shown on the 28th, and they should be released on, I don't know, the 5th or the 6th, or the 4th. Wait, false. That's also false. They're shown on the 28th. They go up for pre-order the following weekend, and then they're released after that. Man, you gotta wait a whole time. Oh my god. You gotta wait like almost a month. 2 weeks, 2.5 weeks or something like that. Shown, pre-ordered, out. 1 week, 2 weeks. Either way, I want my Votan Wave 2. Yeah. I mean, they're kind of giving you a Wave 2 through, like, Kill Team, and Kill Team is... Who knows when that's going to come out for PO, right? I got a big old Tyranid to do, and then I reckon I'm going to pick up a Custodes Combat Patrol. That's a good deal. Yeah, that's not too bad. Save some money. Or buy some books. The one thing I wanted to see in this article was the fact that they're bringing back this fucking Killacan. It's not even a Killacan, it's a Death Dread. But, like, it's crazy to me that they're actually bringing back these super fucking ancient commandos that I haven't seen in I don't know how many years, because good God, they're old. Right? Like, the boomers are waking up from their tombs in the earth to the sight of this. Like, they heard words muttered through God knows what down to their crypts, and they're waking up and they're coughing out their fucking dust, and they're coming back to life. Even these knobs were, I don't even know what edition this was, like 4th or something? I can't even remember. 5th edition. Probably less. Like, this shit was made in the 90s. This was made in early 90s, I'm assuming. What's your take on female custodes? Leave it to the 40K people. I'm a fantasy enjoyer. I've said my piece. I'm just going to say leave it to the 40K people. Leave it to the people who play 40K. I don't care about 40K. 40K to me at this point, although I do love it, I just want more Votan stuff. I just want more Votan, bro. That's all I care about. The Space Marines, I don't give a fuck. Fuck the Space Marines. Votan, I mean, as long as we're not making like Votan Tyranid hybrids, I'm okay. I've got nothing to say. Yeah, there's not really much going out, though. Lore Masters. Oh, look, I get to watch a new fucking thing tonight for my $90 subscription to Warhammer Plus. That's great. But I remember this kit in particular was so disgusting to make when it first came out. Because first it was metal. And if you're a child, you have access to no pin drill, so you can't even pin anything. And getting this thing to stand up was a nightmare. The legs are separate, the feet are separate, the guns are separate, this eyepiece is separate. The what are these smokes? The smokes are separate, the arms are separate, the banner is separate. It's a very and it used to come on like a very flat pancaked base, which now they actually give you a legitimate base, so thank God for that. But it is interesting to see more made-to-order things that are from, like, God knows when. Like, I'm pretty sure I got into Warhammer initially when these were being sold in stores. Not when these were being sold in stores. Like, for God's sake, I didn't walk around with the dinosaurs. But for the sake of these, yeah. Space Marine Heroes. Tau Dice. Tau Cards. Tau Combat Patrol. As good as these boxes are, and as great of a value as, you know, they typically are offered in, I never buy them. I never buy Combat Patrols. I never buy... Oh, you know, maybe I'm just not like a big 40K guy. Even Age of Sigmar. I do like them, and I've got both, but I don't... I spend my money on fantasy, typically. I'm here to chill, but I know nothing about Warhammer. Welcome to the club. We're all just talking about random shit. Random Warhammer that we don't even know what we're talking about. I actually just finished up my Gazgul and Makari a week ago. That's cool. When I was playing, I ran Gaz every game, and it's always fun running him down into literally anything because he just kills anything he wants. Post it in the Discord. Post it in the Discord. Post Gazgul and Makari in the Discord. It was cool to get a new Gaz model, though, considering the older one was like fine cast and it was small. Or rather, it was like metal to fine cast. And then it was like completely discontinued, you know. And they did bring Makari back, right? Like his little grot that he sat on and supposedly killed. First they came for Star Wars, I did not speak of. Then they came for MG, I did not speak of. Then they came for 40 again. There was no one left to speak for me. Listen, bro, you got problems. Everyone got problems. All I gotta say is, I've enjoyed Warhammer since I was a child. I'm not really bent on too many things in life, let alone made-up lore. I also love Star Wars. But guess what? I love the original Star Wars. Do you think I give a fuck about the sequel trilogy? Absolutely not. For me, it's my childhood. I grew up with something, and, you know, things might not go your way. You don't necessarily like it and whatnot, but what can you do, bro? What can you do? That's not your choice to make. You're so crazy. I wish you'd stop biting my hand, though. I'm 25 and I still like Sonic. That was my childhood show games. You don't want to know? Oh, I'm just saying, dude. I'm just saying. Everyone's up in arms about stuff, I know. Those combat patrols look goofy. What about them looks goofy? Thanks for the encouragement. I mean, if you've got shit, just post it, dude. No one's going to sit there and be like, oh my god, that's the worst Gazgul I've ever seen. If you, like, no one's going to say that shit, bro. Post it if you got it. It's cool. Yeah, I'm looking at it right now. It looks good, dude. That's a big fucking model. Yeah. Do people even take Makari in games? I feel like I took him at one point just to sit on my back objective. Since he's got like a 2-up ward save or some bullshit. He's like the luckiest Gretchen in the galaxy. Post him if you got him. They look like anime robots and I hate anime. Okay, the Tau aesthetic, as much as I'm not a fan, it looks clean as fuck. No one's going to sit here and say this realistically looks like trash. Come on. It might not be your cup of tea, but you can still appreciate it and be like, damn, it does look pretty clean. Zelda? My girlfriend likes Zelda. My girlfriend's got a bunch of Zelda statues and all that shit. I'm not really into it. I didn't grow up with Zelda. While she was growing up with Zelda, I grew up with this shit. I grew up with the Warhammer. I grew up with the G.I. Joes. I grew up with the Army Men. I grew up with the WWE. You know, no Transformers, none of that crap, but it's all kind of in the same sphere. Well, I think, they have, for gameplay-wise, I mean, they've got the Vespids and they've got the Kroot. I'd like to see more Vespids, but they don't do anything with the Vespids. Like, they gave the Kroot so much. And to be fair, these are all kind of like plays off of the Forge World stuff, for the most part. You know, this, whatever the hell this is, an axolotl-looking ass thing, that's brand new. But, like, I'm pretty sure most of these things at one point were Forge World, and then they kind of made them plastics. Just give, like, the Vespids a chance, dude. Like, whatever happened to Vespids? Hang on. Oops. Whatever happened to the Vespids? Uh, 40k, Xenos, Tau. Do they even sell the Vespids anymore? Are they just gone? I wouldn't be surprised if they're gone, because who the fuck bought Vespids? Oh, they're there. Look, the Vespid Stingwings. Nobody buys them. Or at least they actually do, because they're sold out. Like, if you were to expand on weird shit like this, yeah, that'd be cool. That'd be really cool. What are those chicken thighs it has? I don't know, bro. They're aliens. Then you got bugs here. not financially viable. I mean, I'm surprised they even gave the Kroot something, because if you look at anything that's supposed to be financially viable, I don't think the Kroot were kind of on that list, but I do think they enjoyed the idea enough to the point where, like, they wanted the Kroot to be a thing, you know, like a big thing. So, because it's not like you have to play everything in an army just because you're given it. You know, you can theme your whole army around something that you don't like instead of taking things that clearly you're not interested in. Invest in a 3D printer. GW prices are insanity. They are insanity, but it is still subjective. In a sense that it's subjective in terms of you wanting to purchase them or not. Like, objectively, the prices are high, but you know who buys this shit? Hardcore nerds, losers, loners, neckbeards, obese individuals such as myself. I will buy this for full price. Yes, I would. And I do. I just haven't done it in recent years. If you like something enough, you'll pay, man. That's just normal, right? If you're a fan, which a lot of people in Warhammer are like big fucking fans, you'll pay the money. And be it, you know, maybe not full price at Games Workshop, but you can buy them at like hobby stores and whatnot. So everyone says, oh my God, it's so overpriced, it's so expensive, and then everyone still buys it. So, like, you know, it is what it is. Wait, you're a neckbeard? I don't have... Actually, if I grew one, yeah, sure. They can also do kill team warcry method for left field models. Oh, they could act... Yeah, absolutely. They could do that. That, you know, what if you were to make a Vespid kill team, right? I got $800 rims on my car. Okay, chill out. Flex. I don't even own a car. That's my flex. People do 3D print them, yeah. I think realistically, see, the thing about 3D printing is that it's a beast all in itself. And I'll tell you right now, if I had to choose between 3D printing and spending more money on miniatures, I would spend more money. I would just, if I didn't have the money to spend on this, I would try to save up and still buy this stuff. Because I promise you, 3D printing is nasty. It's not fun to do. Subjectively, it's not fun. It's a tool that is limitless, and it's amazing when you can get it done right. But the process and the space and everything you kind of have to work with is very unfun. I don't enjoy it. I've done it. It turned my kitchen into a crack house, and never again. It is a rough process for sure. But again, you know, if you have the money and you like the look of these, I don't see anything wrong with it. We can all sit here and say, oh my God, the prices are insane. That's just life, dude. I mean, you buy it or you don't. It is what it is. I've collected Warhammer for 20 years, whatever now. You know, when I was a kid, sure, I wasn't using my own money. You know, be it my dad came around and said, hey, son, guess who's back for child support? And I said, damn right, you are. Let's go get a Baneblade and a Stompa. And we did. We got the Baneblade and the Stompa the same night on Christmas. And, you know, but I love the look of Warhammer. I think the aesthetic of the older sculpts to me is like worth all the money in the world. But that's just my opinion. If you're up for it, it will pay off. Oh, yeah, for sure. If you can pull off 3D printing, it will pay off. It's just a very, again, tedious, disgusting process. For sure. I think what it boils down to is if you're an adult, because, you know, normally it's adults who get into Warhammer. You know, you could be a teenager and whatnot, and you're using, like, allowance money and part-time job money, whatever it may be. If you've got the funds to go between official and 3D printed, at that point, it's just aesthetic. What looks good to you? What are you interested in, right? Aesthetically, what is pleasing? Bog, yo, buddy. I may have what you're interested in. I will see. Why do you want the first gyrocopter? Why do you want the first edition? I know I have 2 of the second edition, and oddly enough, I've got a fine cast one. A very rare fine cast edition, which I don't think was on shelves long. But the first edition gyro is fucking bizarre. I don't know why you'd want that personally, but I have to go find it. We got the rest of the fellas posted. Yeah, I'll take a look after. I got you. I mostly wanted the second edition, not so much the first. Want is a strong term. I'm not searching for it. I just hoped he... Oh, okay, you're good then. If you don't, you're good. You're fine. The second one is cool. It is expensive, though. If you do get it on, like, the secondary market, it's kind of costly. I think at about, like, $100 almost. Not to mention, let me just tell you this. There's no point. Just wait for the old world releases, and you're most likely going to get it on made to order for retail price, if you really wanted one. The made to order stuff should be back. And I mean, when it comes to like the old world and how that system works, they're just reselling you old minis, and they're making a few of them to kind of fill in gaps, potentially. Or not even fill in gaps, just like give you new things to look at, honestly. Because again, even for the orcs and goblins, they never really filled in gaps. They just gave you new sculpts for things that already had sculpts. He had a lot of assorted stuff like bolt throwers, cannons. I bought the 2 organ guns. That's cool. Yeah. Just wait for that stuff, man. Just wait. I would say next Sunday is when we're going to see the first wave of pre-orderable things for the dwarves. And then at that point, you know, retail price is on. Yeah, Medic, peace, buddy. I just got a Razor Shark built the other day. One of my favorite kits I've built. This thing, I've never seen this thing. It looks funky. Like, I don't know if flyers are any good, but it looks cool. I would imagine if you actually painted it with the camo pattern, it would be a bitch, but people probably do that. I don't think I've ever built a flyer. I'm not going to lie. I've owned a lot of shit, but I've never owned a flyer that I've actually finished. It looks cool, though. Yeah, even if things aren't good, who fucking cares? If it looks cool, buy it. You know, easier said than done, of course, but if you got the money, why not? Age of Sigmar has the gyro, yeah. But I mean, the aesthetic of the gyrocopter is much different. I don't know if you've seen the second version of it. You obviously have, but it looks really good. You know, for the longest time, I'm like, whenever a new sculpt comes out, specifically for the dwarves, at least with like fantasy, the tail end of fantasy, I love it so much. And I tried to justify getting that over the previous ones that had come out. And honestly, the second edition of the gyrocopter is amazing. It is, I think I'd like it more than the first one just because it looks so, like, it's very dwarf, but it's not very high tech, you know? It's like what came, clearly an evolution of, you know, we made them initially in wood, whatever, and now we've got steel hulls and all that crap. Like, it's nice looking. Side panels with missiles actually function. That's cool. I mean, there's some stuff with these models that are like, if you don't glue them, they can move, right? So, I mean, if you're just going to sit here and, like, move your shit around, that's kind of cool. You know? Although the second edition one's AOS is sick too, but it gives me more Caradron vibes than Dwarf. You talking about the normal steam gyrocopter? I mean, that was tail end of fantasy. That was released in plastics like ages ago. I've got Votan. I just don't do any Votan stuff right now. I've got the whole Votan line. I've even got the Rogue Trader squat stuff, the old like egg bots and plastic trader squats. Like, they're funky, but I do like them. I just don't have time to build them. I don't have time to do any of that stuff right now, unfortunately. Not to mention I don't even have it with me. One day I'll have enough money to buy a Warlord Titan cope. They're expensive and full of resin, and you need a lot of work and time to finish them. Yeah, it was from 8th. As were the Hammerers, Longbeards, Iron Drakes, like Belagar, Rune Lord, Rune Smith. All the tail-end fantasy plastics are really good. And I think they mesh well with, like, the 2006 stuff, which I think was, what, 7th edition? I think it was 7th edition. 6th edition had the big, like, cartoony hands and the weirdly proportioned bodies. 7th and 8th edition miniatures, I think, were my favorite. They feel very scuffed. Everyone says Votan is good. I'm in the Votan Discord, and everyone, I think, just unanimously agrees that they're kind of pretty good. Even if they feel a bit weird. Second edition versus the plastic one. The plastic one is more... like, you're talking about, like, old school, yeah, dwarven fantasy vibes. I can understand why you'd see that not being a thing in the third one, because it's more steam powered and like the peak of the Engineers Guild. You know, because you've got things over the years that were kind of crafted God knows how long ago that don't look very advanced, but they still get the job done, right? And I think for the most part, when it comes to miniatures, or even lore in general, dwarves don't really have access to wood, and they would always use one specific wood that would grow. It was like the trees that grew atop the mountains or whatever. I think it was called like wood trot or something, red rot or some shit like that. It's in one of the books, and it was like said to be stronger than any other thing they've dealt with, and so they could trust it, and they would use it for, like, again, the gyrocopters, the war machines, whatever it may be. And, you know, progressively, I'm sure as things kind of panned out and, hey, we don't got more trees, what do we do? Well, we fucking upgrade. Make things metal. It is cool, though. It's a cool look. It's not typical for dwarves, but it's very cool. How was the week? Pretty good. We're chilling. I got some terrible news recently, so we're gonna be hanging out here for probably another 2 weeks. We were supposed to go down to the other place in a couple of days, and now we can't go down for about 2 weeks, maybe even a month. And I was very much looking forward to it, and now I'm stuck here again. So it's kind of unlucky, but it is what it is. Angry or Tau. Well, I mean, you could play like a melee list with like what, berserks and shit like that. Lorax and the trees got romped by Grombrindle. Yeah, something like that. I mean, dwarves don't like nature. Dwarves don't like greens. They don't deal with that stuff. They don't know what it is. If it ain't stone, I don't want it. Nothing like putting down 2 triple burgers and a gallon of Mountain Dew for breakfast. Yeah, the American way. Do they really? That's cool. In campaign, races get access to unique landmarks. The dwarves have a legendary grudge against the elves of Athaloran, wherein if they wipe them out and take the Oak of Ages, they turn it into a lumber mill camp. Yeah, damn right they do. Fuck that tree. I mean, that's what they would do, though, right? Like, what else would you do with a giant tree? You'd fucking chop it. Who, as sacred as a tree is to the elves, and oh my god, our whatever the hell, you know, I don't know what elf lore, whatever that sacred tree is for, and it's protected and guarded, whatever it may be. I mean, leave it to dwarves to just desecrate anything. Of course, when it happens to them, right? Like, my grandfather built this fucking effigy of my uncle Great Rufus the 62nd, 3,000 trillion years ago. And, you know, orcs and goblins are shitting and pissing all over it. He's like, I'll kill all you motherfuckers. But when it comes to them doing it to someone else's, you know, ancestral fucking, like, heirlooms and whatnot, they're fine with desecrating it. Yeah. So, yeah. That's them, though, for sure. It increases corollary damage and decreases their upkeep. That's cool, though, yeah. That's fun. I mean, campaign was always very flavorful. I've actually thought about stopping a bit of multiplayer and just trying campaign, because the more I see, like, I've been looking at videos on YouTube recently of the new updates to campaign, and it's pretty intriguing, honestly. Dwarves can now use shield walls. You've got more of an aggressive playstyle, so instead of just sitting around having a wank, you're always constantly fighting and moving out and claiming more land. As you said, the legendary quests seem pretty good. Characters are all updated. You've got Malachi McCason's fucking Thunderbarge, well, Spirit of Grungni kind of flying around. Like, it's just, there's so much stuff going on right now. Between Warhammer coming out, you know what they're probably fucking doing? So, what a cheeky move. Maybe GW is just lining this up. So, Malachi's DLC, or Thrones of Decay, is slated to come out on the 30th. I'm thinking the dwarves go on sale the 28th. Well, sorry, Sunday the 28th is when they're shown on pre-order, and then they're going to be released on Saturday. Or no, they're not even going to be released on Saturday. The preview is for Sunday. They then go on pre-order Saturday, and then they get released the subsequent week. So, I mean, it kind of lines up. We're going to show you all the dwarves in miniature form. We're then going to give you Thrones of Decay 2 days later. And that's like, you're eating good, dude. Maybe I'll play campaign. Honestly, it's just kind of a big undertaking. There's a lot to be doing, and I'm not really a campaign player. Like, I can understand what to be doing with units, but when it comes to, like, understanding who to trade with and all this other crap and what buildings to build, it was never really my thing. Ulthuan and Kalador, and when Ephorotic lives, called the Silver Tombs. I mean, I'm sure they're really going hard right now in terms of, like, flavor, in making all the races kind of feel more alive with just side quests. I mean, in most of the battles, you've got people reciting, like, quest quotes. You know, I think I was watching a fucking multiplayer battle, and it had Ungrim, and Ungrim was yelling his pre-quest battle speeches in multiplayer, right? So, like, they're really going in on making things feel more alive, making you feel like, you know, you're part of the dwarves or part of the empire, whatever it may be. That's just cool, man. It's really cool, because Warhammer is always flavorful. It's always full of character. It's just a matter of, you know, if you make a video game, if you make a game about it, are you going to have it be that flavorful, right? Plug, thank you, buddy. I will play the old world. Yeah, for sure. I used to play fantasy. Played 8th, played 7th. 6 is a bit too boomerish. Before that, it was like God knows what edition of 40K, and then Lord of the Rings. Bogalicious, peace, man. Yes, take it easy, buddy. Campaign side of things are not that difficult. I think it was more so, when it comes to total war games, it can feel very overwhelming. You just need to kind of zero in on what it is you're looking at, understand it, move to the next thing, move to the next thing, move to the next thing, right? Like I used to play campaign, and I knew more about it than I did, obviously, now. But I don't think it'd be hard to learn. Do you think Warhammer 3 is worth it? I mean, Warhammer 3 is just DLC for 2, so I'd get it. I was watching Battlesea playing Thoric. Yeah, like you were saying, Thoric yells a bunch of shit, and that's cool. Ungrim yells a bunch of shit, too. Ungrim had, like, in the multiplayer game, it was Ungrim with 2 units of Slayers, and Ungrim was yelling to the Slayers, you know, his pre-game fucking quest speech. He's like, Slayers, I hear you're hungry to die because you're so depressed and miserable, and you smell like shit. Go die. Right? Whatever he says. I think it was, I forgot what quest battle, but basically that's what he's saying. That's cool. Yeah. More flavor, the better. Reload animations to Thunderers. I mean, be glad they gave you a shield wall. Like, that's... I mean, for God's sake, you could do so much. You could add shield bearers, you could add oath stones, you could add reload animations, you could have... Who even knows? I want to buy Warhammer Underworld starter pack. Should I? I mean, if you want to, yeah, go for it. What's stopping you? Yeah, like Warhammer Underworlds. So the one thing about Underworlds is that you need people to play with. The problem with these niche games is that there's nobody to play with because nobody plays with them. If you're at like Warhammer World, you know, where all the Warhammer players basically live with stuff like this, then you can most definitely get a game. But I think for the most part, when it comes to niche things like this, it's a little hard to figure out, right? Because if you buy this, it's with the intention of playing it, because you can just purchase these miniatures elsewhere if you really just wanted them, you know? Ironbreaker Gromrel, Armor Tech Tree, upgraded to Flex Artillery. That's kind of nutty. That's crazy. Yeah, Quinn playing. Peace, buddy. More flavor. Again, more shit to like. More shit to do. For a game as big and vast as Total War, at least Warhammer, I'm not really so sure about the other ones they've done. It's just a well of content, bro. Like, they could really pump out a lot of shit. And, you know, I'm sure they're gearing up to do the 40K one because it's obvious they're going to do 40K eventually. So, what do? You know? You play all the content, and then they give you more, and you play, and then they give you a new game. Play. It's just good. Like, CA really... The people who are working on Warhammer 3, or not even Warhammer 3, just like the Warhammer section in general, you can tell they're fans, right? Like, you can really tell the people who worked on any of those games love Warhammer. Because it really reminds me of, like, Dawn of War, where the people who made Dawn of War clearly loved the source material, and you felt it as you played the game because it was just so lively, and everything felt like they actually... like, crazily enough, weren't even doing it for the money. It just felt like something as like a passion project almost. Of course, making the money was great, but can you give me a tick where to start? You want to get into this Warhammer Underworlds? I can't tell you anything, man. I don't even play this. I think the latest Underworld set was this one. And even then, like, I'm more of a fantasy battles type of guy. I've played 40K. I've played Age of Sigmar. When it comes to the niche board games, I'm not really a big player. Because this, if you don't know anything about Warhammer, this is not Warhammer exactly. This is like a board game set in a universe, set in like Age of Sigmar, right? So this is its own part of the universe, but it's not how Warhammer, the war game, is played. This is a standalone board game with like other things you could do with, you know, different decks and different units and whatnot. Warhammer if you want to play like everyone else, and it's not that people don't play this, it's just not as popular, is typically driven by a bunch of units on a tabletop, and then, you've got your rule book, you got your army book, and you just kind of play like that. The game director himself was playing since first edition. The new Zinch hero model was based off the one he owned that was 1 million years ago. That's cool. I mean, you don't take on a Warhammer thing unless you actually are a fan, because the real if you took on a Warhammer thing and weren't into it, the fans will destroy you, right? Like, these guys are the rabid dogs. I don't blame them. Warhammer's cool as fuck. And so when something isn't right, in a game, or it's kind of like cheapo, typical like mobile games for Warhammer at least, people don't really gravitate towards them. They give them not much of a look-see, I should say. Why do you think not a lot of people play the game? It's expensive. I mean, true, it is expensive. It's very expensive. And I mean, when it comes to playing the game, you don't have to go out and buy a full army right out of the gate, right? Like, if you have the funds, go for it if you really want to. But for the most part, what I think people do is they just kind of buy a combat patrol. It just gives you a good variety of units. I want to play a tank. I want to have a bunch of little scouts and whatnot. Okay, great. You buy one box, and it gives you enough points. I think it's like, 500 points? Autism weaponized? I mean, Warhammer is a very passionate, people are very passionate about Warhammer, but sometimes too much. Sometimes a little bit too much. Like, if it's for most people, when it comes to Warhammer, it's something they've taken with them throughout their life because it's been around for so long. For others, it could be something they just got into, but they find it really interesting because there's so many different things to it. For God's sake, how many factions do you have? I can't even tell. For 40K, for Age of Sigmar, for Warhammer Fantasy, they also own the license to Lord of the Rings, which Games Workshop didn't create, but they make the miniatures for. Then they got Blood Bowl, then they got this, then they got that, Necromunda. Then they got 1 billion books, and then they got 1 billion audiobooks. Then they got 1 billion fucking action figures and different merchandise. If you are more interested in collecting the figures of your favorite characters and units, would you still recommend buying it off the official website, or is there another section website? If you're going to buy anything, so this is how I do it. I support my local Games Workshop, the one near me, because the manager and the people who work there are really cool people, right? Like, the manager at my local GW will sit there and talk to you about life and other things that don't even pertain to Warhammer. Like, the guy is just, he likes talking to people, and it's always good going in. I enjoy it. So I support them through that, right? Like, I don't go in often, but when I do, I typically buy stuff. Not many things. Would I ever order from the web store? I mean, maybe. But the biggest thing about purchasing through the web store is that you can also get it for cheaper through, a local game store or another, online website that sells Games Workshop products. And, you may think, oh, you're screwing the GW guys, buy from GW. But it's like, they have an agreement with Games Workshop, and Games Workshop allows them to sell it at a reduced price. Right? Like, whatever, I think it's 15% cheaper, I believe, for everything. So, instead of paying full price for the Combat Patrol Thousand Suns, you get a couple bucks off, 15% off. Right? Say it's $100. There you go, $15 off. I've ran into very unfriendly people, just douchebags. For some reason, sometimes they end up working at a Games Workshop and they're just so like grouchy and douchey and they're miserable. But I feel like if you're really into this hobby and you want to be in that space of selling people things, you're typically a friendly person, you know? So again, I would support locally Games Workshop just because I like the guys who work there. I've talked to the manager countless times. Otherwise, you know, you can go to a local game store and you can purchase things for 15% off. And GW, that's just the agreement, so you can do it. Online, my country has no Warhammer stores, so I got to order from the US. I mean, whatever you want, honestly, objectively speaking, you'd want to save money. No one is going to sit here and say, I would rather order full-priced Games Workshop stuff instead of 15% discounted Games Workshop stuff. That's the exact same thing. Nobody's going to say that, objectively, right? If it has to do with a web store where, you know, it's just clicking buttons, you'd probably go with, like, I mean, honestly, I think the one everyone uses right now is called Element Games out of the UK. They're pretty good. In Toronto, they've got 401 Games. I mean, there's game stores everywhere, right? Like, if you think you don't have Warhammer in your country, Google, you know, Uganda Warhammer or something. And maybe there's a store that does sell it. And again, they will sell it to you for 15% cheaper. My local GW shop has the biggest friendly staff. Exactly. And I don't mind supporting them. Like, I've purchased from Games Workshop my whole life. I've purchased from the secondary market. I've purchased from individual retailers, so on and so forth. I've done all of it. And it's like, you know, you do want to save money. And here and there, you don't mind supporting good people. Brianator, yo, buddy. I started playing Vermintide today and really enjoyed it, so I want to learn more about it. Okay, so you're talking about, you like fantasy. So forget the 40k stuff, because you said you wanted to get into Warhammer. Vermintide takes place in what we now call the Old World, right? So the Old World is Games Workshop, the company, bringing back, you could say, Vermintide. In the miniatures game, Vermintide, the universe that's set in, is dead. It's exploded. Everyone is dead. It's gone. It's never coming back. Or rather, it did recently, just in a bit of a different form. Different timeline, I should say. So if you like Vermintide, and you like the rats, and you like, you know, sword and board, magic, dwarves, elves, orcs, goblins, whatever, that's going to be the Old World. Or you can also do Age of Sigmar, which is the sequel. It's a little bit crazier. You still have rats. You've got humans. You have a bunch of stuff. But it is a different universe than, like, Vermintide. Some hobby stores that support Warhammer have cases that you can buy cheap, already built models. You could do that too, yeah. I know there's a local place in Montreal. I think it's called, like, The Abyss or something. And they've got display cases full of used minis. You know, if you really wanted to buy stuff pre-built and just paint them. Although I think for the most part, when people get into Warhammer, they kind of, they want to build their own shit. You know, like, it's a hobby where building this is more of a guideline, right? Like, do you want to build humans with guns and little walkers? Like, you could do that. Or you can go crazy and make them look like something completely different. You know, it's more of like, do you like the aesthetic? Great. If not, but you still want a human silhouette with a gun, take that, you know, throw a bunch of different pieces on it, build it differently. Like, you can be as creative as you essentially want with this stuff, and if you want to play with it in a game, people will accept it. That's what's so good about Warhammer. It's that there's so much freedom in how you want to be building your armies, painting your armies. You know, you want to give them a story, great. You want to fucking name all of your characters and recite their lore to your opponent, cool. I don't know if everyone's going to be interested in that, but how do you play, though? It's with dice. So the way it works is you have a rule book, and the rule book explains how to play the game. And you play on a giant table with scenery. It's like D&D, except not as nuanced, and you've got giant units of like tanks and infantry and weapons and all this crap. And you roll dice. You compare stats, roll dice, move around, do objectives. It's turn-based, you know, so you go, I go. Sometimes you just alternate immediately. It's not complicated, but it is very... It takes a while to play a game. You know, getting to the point where you can play a full game does take a little bit. Not to mention, you know, if you live in a country where, again, Warhammer might not even be available, what do you do at that point? So I think for the most part, if anyone's looking to play games, your biggest, like, purchase, again, would probably just be one of these boxes. 2K games, I think, are like 3 hours, usually. 2 to 3 hours. They do have smaller, you know, points games. So, like, these are about 500 points each, I believe. And you can play, you know, a game in like an hour at 500 points. It's not going to be the most exciting game, but it'll get you, you know, into the groove of things and kind of like, oh, this rule does this, and I do this here, and I'm rolling what dice for what reason, so on and so forth. So, you know, you don't have to play with a big army. You can play, I think, what, 500, 15, 2K, 1K, stuff like that. 3K, if you've got all the time in the world. Combat patrols have their own game mode. There you go. Sleepy, yo, buddy. I have 3,000 points, and I've never played a game. I don't blame you. If you don't want to, don't do it. But it is fun if you do. What type of dwarves do you like the most? Classic dwarves. Big beard, big gut, big grudge, big axe, big shield, big gun. Just like Tolkien, but amped up a little bit, you know? The Hobbit? I mean, Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit is cool. Yeah, everyone likes that stuff. I mean, this company sells you that as well. This company has a miniatures game for The Hobbit and Lord of the Rings. And it's good. It's cool. Like, I don't know if you grew up watching the movies or, you know, some of you boomers are like, I read the books. The books are better than the movies. Whatever you say, who gives a shit? Because they got minis from the movie. And I'm sure the books as well. Like, it is cool. I remember watching Return of the King in theaters, and the theater, the mall that we had watched it in, they ended up having a Games Workshop. And so from the movie theaters, you run to the GW, and you instantly see, like, the Men of Gondor, or, like, the Orcs, or the fucking Knights of Minas. Like, oh, seeing this shit as a kid was so cool. Right out of the movie theaters and into, like, the miniature world of what I just saw. It's very enticing. It's very, very enticing. Although, you know, Lord of the Rings isn't that popular compared to Age of Sigmar and 40K. I think everyone still appreciates it, right? Because everyone loves Lord of the Rings. There's not a single person in this chat room who has not seen one of the Lord of the Rings movies and hasn't liked something about it. How much do you like Middle-earth dwarves compared to Warhammer dwarves? Well, I mean, Middle-earth dwarves are just kind of like the baseline of, like, Tolkien made dwarves, at least what we know of them in most fantasy settings. Like, he made that, right? It's like it's the template. And, you know, as good as the classics are, you can kind of expand on that and make them cooler. So what Tolkien gave us, amazing. What Warhammer Fantasy gave us, perfected. subjectively perfected. It's like, what if we take our axes and our swords and our fucking shields and whatnot? What if we take our catapults and what if we had gunpowder instead? What if we had like rocket launchers and flamethrowers and flying machines? You know, what if we could drill through the earth in our giant mechanized fucking like steam powered drills? They just made it cooler. Crazier, but cooler, for sure. Not me. Really? Your name's Fangorn, not you? Lord of the Rings is just so timeless, man. Everyone loves it. The movies are amazing. I mean, you read the books. I'm happy for you. I didn't read the books. The movies for me were my shit. And the minis. WoW dwarves. I used to play WoW. I don't think I was necessarily into the lore too much, but it was all right. I don't think they're my favorite, you know, like, I think the biggest thing about WoW is that ever since being into Warhammer Fantasy, I've kind of just viewed most other things as not as good, or like write them off before I even get into them, so it's not really fair. I watch the 2 trilogies at least once a year. I wanted to start recently. I really wanted to start recently. Like, to rewatch Lord of the Rings. The audiobook by Andy Serkis. That's, yeah, I did see him do that. He was reading one of them on YouTube. 40K's Votan. But I grew up playing, like, Guard, Orcs. As a kid, I had, like, Necrons, Tau. I had, like, everything as a kid. Maybe, like, one box with a character. But the only things that stuck were Guard and Orcs. It's a good yearly watch. Lord of the Rings is, like, the loving grandpa of fantasy. Well, of course it is. I mean, who do you think shaped most of what we know about most fantasy settings? Right? As much as Lord of the Rings and just, you know, The Hobbit, whatever, Silmarillion, fucking Tolkien, like, you owe something to that, but it doesn't have to be your favorite. Everyone will always say, the classics, the classics. But new spins on things could be more enticing, could be more exciting, you know? It's not that Lord of the Rings is not as good or anything, because that's just copium, but you may prefer the aesthetic of something more, the lore of something more, but again, it just ripped off Lord of the Rings, right? So, like, even if you like it more, you still like Lord of the Rings. I do both. I play and I collect. I'm getting into Orcs from Death Guard, and damn, it has been fun. When I played Orcs, I only did melee, and I ran it down every game. I can't stand shooting Orcs. Something about shooting with Orcs just feels so wrong. Every game I played was like, spam boys, bring Gazgul, get the Mega Knobs, just run. Point A to B, I'm coming to kill you. Knobs and battle wagons. Well, they can hit. Well, of course they can hit sometimes, but, I mean, you like what you like. It's just a play style. How much do you think you've spent on Warhammer stuff so far? Tens of thousands. Tens of thousands, easily. Having started 20 years ago, plus, and it's like the one hobby that's gone through my entire life. Yeah, maybe. I've sold so much stuff. Things come in, things go. You know, you get Christmas gifts. You spend all your fucking Christmas allowance, or not allowance, but like your just general allowance, whatever it may be. I'd always fucking spend it at GW. I gotta go. Please, Mom, drop me off. I gotta go buy a Gretchen blister pack. They're so cool. I love Gretchens. Or like, please, I need a little grot fucking mortar. It's so cool. Yeah, I've, like, all of my memories from growing up in terms of hobbying and toys and shit like that typically comes from GW. A lot of birthday money was spent on GW. What's your ratio with buying and selling? I don't buy as much anymore. And I'm actually looking to sell a lot of my shit because I'm refocusing what I'm actually into, or rather what I want to pursue. Because I've collected things, rare things, that have just been sitting in storage. And I'm like, I'm never going to get around to them. Some things I bought retail when they were first around and, again, never got to them. So, as of late, I buy nothing. I'm very picky, extremely picky in what I go after, just because, like, I don't want to collect like I used to as a kid. Like, as a kid, I was like, okay, get a box of this, paint this, do that, whatever. And as a kid, for God's sake, as a child, I finish more than I do as an adult. But then again, I don't have much time as an adult right now to get anything done. But I think for the most part, like, I'm getting out of orcs. I'm selling all of my orcs. I had a shit ton growing up. I couldn't even put a point value on any of them. Stompas, hundreds of boys, like Forge World kits, shit tons of knobs, characters, just so much stuff. And, over the years, I'd sell it. Some things I still have, and that's kind of what's next to go. And then I'm going to put all that money into getting the dwarves, or at least more dwarves, because that's another race that I've kept with for years, for a very long time. And interests just change. You grow up, you like something, and then, some things stick, some things don't. As much as I hate to see me selling all my orcs, I just don't really care about them anymore. I've already got the Votan stuff. I don't buy any new Votan. Do you invest in Warhammer? Legos. Invest in Lego, kids. If I just wanted a big mini for a statue fantasy style, what would you recommend? Go 3D printing at that point, then. There's different companies who put out, like, dwarven statues and all this weird shit. I don't think GW really puts out anything that's, like, statuesque. Zank, peace, buddy. Take it easy, man. Have a good night, dude. Peace, peace. Dwarves for Sigmar? No, hell no. The only thing I'm going to be buying is probably the made-to-order stuff that are coming back for, like, the dwarves. Things that I don't already own. Because the made-to-order things, they really dig through the vaults to kind of give you old fucking things. Half the shit that they've even shown or mentioned, I don't even remember, let alone have seen. So I think for the most part, that's just what I'm after, right? Sell a bunch of shit you don't want, buy things you do want, and that's it. I'm good with that. Sentinel, yo, buddy. Yeah, it's the old world stuff, though, for sure. There's nothing really in, like, Age of Sigmar dwarves. Nah. It's not really my thing. The Caradron are cool. I think out of all the AOS stuff, it's the Caradron that are the coolest. It's just such a good concept, like, expanded upon even more, even though they've got, like, no units. Old World is Warhammer Fantasy. Closest in AOS would be Fireslayers. I think both, honestly, both are clear, throwbacks to, like, something about dwarves. This is just the Engineers Guild on crack. It's like, okay, guys, we're dying, the world is ending, everything is terrible, we're fucking rotting away in our holds, and our gods won't listen to us. What do? Make flying machines. Ascend to the heavens and escape all this nonsense. Great. That's what they did. Engineers Guild, right? Just an expansion of what they used to have, and now it's fucking crazy as hell. Whereas the Fireslayers are still very much what they are, but a little bit crazier because now they have all of the magma droths and whatnot. I like them. The aesthetics of this, to me, is far more appealing than Fire Slayers. Because I look at the Fire Slayers and I'm just like, the fantasy counterpart is so much cooler. But I look at this and I just think of what fantasy could have been if we actually had, you know, thunder barges, or we had the Engineers Guild, you know, smoking insane amounts of crack and creating something like this. Like, I could see this in fantasy. This doesn't even look that far-fetched. Like, for God's sake, you've got Iron Drakes. This would be the next evolution of Iron Drakes. Like, this looks fantasy to me if you just had a little bit more time. So, I think it's cool. This aspect of dwarves is just amazing. Like, the technology that these guys can pump out compared to other races is completely unmatched. At least in terms of consistency, I should say. Like, the Skaven, you know, Chaos Dwarves, yeah, okay, they got some crazy shit going on, but, like, none of it will be as consistent as this stuff. Also, there's a print line on a miniature. They're 3D printing their minis. I did play Return to Moria. We beat it, and there's supposed to be new DLC coming out, which I'm not going to play, but that's cool. You must summon the electric counts. Maybe one day, bro. How much did summoning the electric counts do? We still have the end times. Well, I'm just saying, in terms of technology, dwarves are the most consistent. Like, the Skaven can create absolutely crazy things that could rival dwarven technology, but, like, not consistently. You know, like, they could create, for God's sake, they make a nuke, right? They can make sniper rifles. They can do giant fucking warp-powered, like, pump engines and all this crazy shit. Like, they can do it. It's just incredibly inconsistent, right? Like, they're just bashing shit together. Oh, it looks good. Yeah, okay, great. And they roll with it. And sure, it's going to fall apart, kill everyone. But, like, they did do it. Chaos Dwarves, I'm pretty sure, are kind of the same way. Not necessarily as shitty as Skaven. But, like, I'd like to think their stuff isn't as good as the Dwarven things. Just because they haven't been testing it for so long, you know? It's like, you don't need the seal of approval through, like, God knows how many different people, through how many different lifetimes to even have it be a thing. Return to Moria and the story. I mean, the story was just reclaim Moria. That's it. Like, you get to go visit Dwarodelf and all those other places. Oh, the Bridge of Khazad-dûm. Oh my God, so cool. And it was cool seeing it, right? But I think at the end of the day, the number one problem with the game was that it didn't feel challenging, and it was too short. Like, for God's sake, I don't know who the game's for, but, like, you talk about surviving and, you know, remaking Moria anew, and the Watcher shows up, and the Watcher is, you know, an abomination with, like, a shit ton of tentacles, and oh my God, it's going to eat me. And you shoot it 3 times with a crossbow, and it's dead. It's like, what? Doomflayers were made from a destroyed gyrocopter? Is that the lore for the Doomflayer? Really? Is that true? I hate them even more. I hate them. I should probably read up more on Skaven vehicles, or rather contraptions. Because, I mean, it looks similar. It looks like something I've seen before. You talking about the sides, maybe? I mean, it looks funky. It could look like something like that, yeah. Maybe not, though. Orcs and Goblins. Skaven are GW's best race they have written, not gonna lie. Well, if you're talking about one race that is completely unique and has, you know, not much influence elsewhere, it's probably the Skaven, right? Like, they seem pretty ground up in terms of design and lore and everything. They're not very... You can't look at something else and be like, oh, that's what the Skaven were. You know, the Skaven are kind of just that one thing they did really, really well that had no ties to anything else. I mean, it's not like they didn't do elves well or dwarves well or anything. It's probably my favorite versions of any fantasy universe for those races. But the Skaven feel very much like their own thing. Like, GW made them from the ground up, and they fit perfectly. And everyone loves Skaven. I don't. At least, you know, it's horrible. But they're cool. 100% original and fun to read about. Yeah, for sure. When are you going to paint the figures? I'd like to see how that works. You could watch YouTube videos, man. I won't be doing that for like a few months. I'm not going to lie. I am well far out of being back with my hobby stuff. So I would suggest watching just YouTube. Built from scavenged scrap, broken blades, and the steam-powered roto engines of a recently recovered crashed dwarven gyrocopter. The first destructive engine was destined to evolve into the Doomflare. Oh, that's cool. Yeah. So there you go. I guess it was initially from a gyrocopter. I mean, it makes sense that rats would pick up trash and kind of like repurpose it, right? Like, these guys are shitting and pissing and living in their own shit and piss. Like, you can kind of sift through garbage and makes sense to me. Is there any Warhammer movies or shows? They've got a few movies that were like released to the public, but they're not very good, I think. If you want to really get into Warhammer, go on YouTube and look up Astartes, and you'll probably like what you see. Everyone who has seen it has liked what they've seen. So, do not watch the Ultramarines movie. Well, that's what I was saying, right? I mean, that movie had God, what's his name? Who played Kane in Alien? John Hurt. It had John Hurt as, like, I think it was the chaplain. John Hurt the chaplain. Was it John Hurt? Is that his name? I feel like an idiot. Maybe I'm right. Fan-made stuff is better. Yeah. Well, the Ultramarines movie was... That's an older thing. I mean, it was released on, like, DVD, I'm pretty sure. Amazon has a show coming out with Henry Cavill producing it, I believe, which should be good. I mean, he stated in interviews he will do everything he can to have it lore-friendly, you know, down to the nitty-gritty. He loves the source material. He's not going to go out of his way to create something that doesn't make sense. If there's anyone who has a shit ton of money in this world and power to do something, at least Warhammer-related, it's probably him, right? It's something being made by a long-time fan, a guy who respects the material that he's getting into. So, like, there is... Unless Amazon steps in and, like, royally fucks it, I'm pretty sure it's going to be really good. If you want a movie that's like Warhammer, watch Event Horizon. Event Horizon's pretty good. I mean, it's basically just the warp, right? Entities go in, entities come out, and everyone's all fucked up and deranged and crazy. Yeah? No spoiler alerts. If I wanted to play a Warhammer game, would you recommend 40K or the regular one? It's subjective. What do you like? Do you like futuristic stuff, or do you like sword and board fantasy? Right? If you like the futuristic stuff, you'll probably like 40K more. If you like sword and board and, you know, oh, I'm a wizard, you throw a fireball, you know, you go with fantasy, you go with Age of Sigmar, right? I think for the most part, if you're into Warhammer, you'll probably like all of it, no matter what. You'll obviously like one more than the other, but it's all fun. Like, for someone who's more so into fantasy, I still do like 40K. I like the futuristic stuff. Blood Bowl. Blood Bowl. That's why I collect demons. I can play all of it. You could, yeah. I think the problem is that people want to get into Warhammer, so they instantly think they have to play the game. That's not the case. Watch the shows, fan animations on YouTube, or get Warhammer Plus if you really want to. Play the video games, listen to audiobooks, buy miniatures that you just want to paint and look at. You know, you don't have to play the game. I haven't played a Warhammer game in a couple of years. I'd like to play another one sometime soon, preferably Old World. But you can be into Warhammer without having to play a game. You know, the game is kind of like the biggest step you take when it comes to the hobby itself, because purchasing a mini, building it, painting it, that's very surface level. That's super easy to do compared to amassing a collection, you know, finding an opponent, learning the game, learning the enemy's army, so on and so forth, right? That's very like tail end, you know, am I really interested in what I'm doing? So then you play the game. Kill Team's a good place to start for tabletop. It is if you want to play, you know, an actual game and not be too sunk into like, you know, the paycheck or time. Kill Team's pretty good. I like both of them, but my ADHD is too much for those games, I'm afraid. So don't play. Again, you don't have to play the game. Listening to lore channels while going to bed is peak. I've been doing that recently. It's pretty good. Space Marines should be used sparingly, and when they show up, well, I think that's what's going to happen too. It's going to focus more on like the guard, maybe an Inquisitor or something, right? And then they will probably show Space Marines, but it's going to be, holy fuck, shit just went down. I'm thinking you fucking come out with a show, it's guard, chaos, tier, whatever it is, right? It's very human-centric. And in the finale, the Space Marines show up, and you end on a cliffhanger. You cuck everyone for another 10 years until Season 2 comes out. Like, that's what you do. Kane or Eisenhorn? I mean, you really don't want to make it about Space Marines. Again, because, like, as people say, it's really... Space Marines aren't common in the setting. Seeing them means very bad things, usually. And if you make a show that just introduces the one thing that's, like, typically never seen in the universe as often as you think it is, you kind of lose that sense of awe, you know? Like, oh, it's just Space Marines. In reality, it's like, holy fuck, it's a Space Marine. Like, people are on their knees praying to these people, right? They're crazy. Well, I mean, as cool as it would be to kind of like go back to the beginning and kind of show you what Warhammer was initially, like the Horus Heresy and the betrayal of fucking, you know, blah, 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 blah. Oh my God, my sons. Should have got off TikTok. It'd be interesting to show all that stuff, but like, there's too much of it, and it's just a fuck ton of Space Marines, right? I think you'd probably want to start after the Horus Heresy and then just mention it a bunch. You know, like, oh, during the heresy, blah, 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 blah. Like, I'm pretty sure it would be great for all the lore heads and the people who love the Horus Heresy. You'd want to see live action stuff or maybe animated stuff. But, you know, it can just be something that was so long ago that you can mention it, and you can bring it up, and you can reference it, and you could just kind of leave it at that. It doesn't need to be the center of, like, a show. It's just the past, right? A big part of Warhammer is, the Horus Heresy for sure. But I don't think when everyone talks about Warhammer, and if you're going to bring Warhammer to the masses, I don't think you start with the Horus Heresy. Because even then, I feel like it's more of a niche, right? Like, what do you think is more popular, 40K or 30K, right? They've supported both for a very long time, but I think it really boils down to, like, are you a super hardcore Warhammer fan, so you know about the Horus Heresy and you partake in 30K, or are you just like someone who enjoys it and, maybe recently got into it or have been into it for a long time, and, you love all that stuff, but you don't go that deep. You don't go to 30K. A short series depicting each Primarch encounter for every chapter. That could be cool, yeah. There's a lot they could do. I mean, everything is up in the air, man. There's so much content in Warhammer to the point where, again, if you had all this money and all this power to create things, you could do it, but you need some sort of good return, right? Like, I don't think you're given the keys to Warhammer and, they tell you, make us a show. I don't care if it doesn't make money. It's like, what? Shit gotta make some money. Year 40,000. Yeah, 40K, 30K, it's like 30,000 years into the future, 40,000 years into the future. It's just something you need to bring something to people that everyone will know, or that most people know. Eisenhorn, yeah, I mean, it could be a very contained, couple of characters, grand thing going on, but it gives you someone to latch onto, because it will have to be about someone. You don't just create a Warhammer show and it's like, in this episode, we're going to see the Space Marines kill the Tyranids. And it's like, David Attenborough kind of like, oh, the Space Marines deployed the heavy bolter and shoot the living fuck out of the Gene Stealers. It's like you have to follow a character through God knows what, in whatever it is, really, because like in League they did not Valorant. In League they did well, I mean, people would want to see that, sure, but you know what I mean. When it comes to League, there's so many different conflicts and different characters, but you have to center in on like something that's going to resonate with people, right? So they did Jinx and Vi, two sisters kind of like torn apart, how each one of them survived and like what came of it. People would get, if you want to say Eisenhorn, sure. Who knows, man? I'm not really big into 40K. Like, I know who Eisenhorn is. I just don't know the stories. So, I don't fucking know. Make it about Votann. 0 people will watch. How the Votann got wiped out by the Tyranids. Oh, we can see High Fleet Leviathan sneaking up on the homeworld of the squats. Although I don't think it was Leviathan. I could be wrong. Turned into a deep Tobito speech. Well, I gotta get out of here soon. It just turned 12 a.m. I do have to go very soon. Who is stronger all around, dwarves or elves? I mean, dwarves got tanks. Dwarves have grenade launchers. Dwarves have miniguns. Dwarves have, like, bound magic. Elves have dragons. Elves have really fucked up magic. I'm just gonna say the guys with the tanks, bro. The Night Lords Omnibus Trilogy adapted. But wouldn't that be like rated Turbo R? That would be like Terrifier, the movie, except 10 times worse. Okay, Draven, stop being a weirdo. I'm only interested in Mordekaiser and Noxus. Everything else in League is Resident Sleeper. He's cool. He is cool. Not many people care about him, but like the whole thing to, you know, dominate the world, and he was so powerful that even in death he kind of came back and like wanted to do the same thing. And then got trapped in his own little pocket dimension. It's like, yeah, that's cool. I think when it comes to, like, I mean, I'd love to see an Elden Ring clone of Warhammer. I'd like to see a ton of different things, but the only person with the passion and the money to make this happen is Henry Cavill. Who the fuck else in Hollywood is going to sit down and say they want to make a Warhammer show? Nobody. Zero people. Zero people. Excuse me. Whatever he gives you is what we're getting, and that's it. Otherwise, you get Fanimations or you get Warhammer Plus shows. I trust in God, Emperor Henry. I know, they did add 40k skins into Call of Duty. Some of them look good, some of them look a bit weird. Zero people, but once it's out there, everyone wants to dip in and change it. If you're talking about Hollywood, and imagine if Disney had the license to Warhammer, you just wouldn't even have Warhammer anymore, to be fair. I mean, for God's sake, Disney Star Wars is so shit. It's just so unfun. But you know, it's like people like it, and that's cool. People do like it. Still waiting for the 40k Helldivers crossover. That would be easy money. I mean, for God's sake, the people who made that game love Warhammer, so like, why wouldn't you have it? I think it's more so like acquiring the license from Games Workshop to be able to include Space Marines, you know? Because what if you just drop down as a bunch of like tactical Marines, you know, and you have those cybernetic enhancements and shit when you start losing limbs and whatnot, whatever it is. That's how that works. I've only seen like gameplay footage. I would do dark things to get a Warhammer Fantasy open world RPG like The Witcher 3. I mean, dude, imagine Elden Ring co-op. Gotrek and Felix. Let's be honest with ourselves here. That's cool. That would be cool. Imagine slaying a fucking giant, disgusting, wretched, like, God knows what, an abomination as co-op Gotrek and Felix. Like, that's cool. And you could, like, just roam the world and do anything. There's so many cool things. Apparently, it's been data mined in the files for 40k and Starship Troopers crossovers. Makes sense. I mean, for God's sake, it makes sense. Why wouldn't you have that? That's just the audience of the game. These are all cool ideas, but no one gives a fuck. Nobody cares. People don't want this shit. I mean, the greatest game, Warhammer-wise, to had come out in years was Total War. Total War is pretty much perfect. How do you top Warhammer Total War in terms of a fantasy game? I don't know, man. When it comes to 40k, you're going to have Space Marine 2, and Space Marine 2 is going to be absolutely insane. It's going to be amazing. The first game was amazing. First game came out, God knows what, 10 years ago? And now they're doing a sequel finally? Yeah. I mean, it's all in your head, dude. It's all, we can all wish for something, but like, chances of it being a thing, good luck. Yeah. Yeah, I'll get off now. Give me 5 minutes. Good gameplay-wise, I think you can get people into the genre, to be honest. Well, I mean, the one thing that's like, Warhammer has the potential to be mainstream. The problem is, has it ever tried? Is that what they want for the franchise, right? For 40K, for fantasy, for any of that stuff? Because it's money. It is money. I mean, it's a company that wants to make money. You can't blame them for wanting to make money. They have the potential. It's just, how do you sell it to the masses? What is the easiest thing to get into? Because for the longest time, Warhammer was just books and it was miniatures. Two things people typically don't fucking care about. You know, there are a lot of people who do, but that's just, it's a minority, right? You make typically good games because video games are easier to sell to people, right? Anyways, I gotta go. It's pretty late. I have to go clean up my dog's shit pad. He got poo-poo. I'm sitting here with the idea of Helldivers, but instead Elysian drop troops. I mean, what if it's just that? What if they just give the Helldiver guys Elysian drop troop outfits? There you go. Or you just make the game extremely modded and replace everything with Tyranids and Necrons, and you drop in as like tactical marines or drop troops. Like, who knows? GW is extremely protective of their IP. Yeah, they are, for sure. I think with recent management, they've been more open to the ideas of like, you know, what if we make a clone of this? What if we do this? What if we do that? You know, what if we're gonna, like, for God's sake, they're making fucking cosplay gear. They're working with a company to do official Empire cosplay stuff. They've got action figures. They got high-end collectibles. They got video games. They got toys in Walmart. Like, they're doing a lot. And be it those things don't necessarily show the universe in real time, but at least they're being more open to the idea of working with others, you know, to potentially create some amazing things. Because if you're a company like GW, you have the keys to the kingdom. You have the lore, you have God knows how many years of, like, content, and it's just a matter of how do we put that content into something that people can consume that's not tedious, that most people can get into and just look at and be like, okay, this is awesome, without dumbing it down, you know, without shitting on it and kind of turning it into something it's not. Trying to please new audiences. Well, that's kind of the problem, right? It's like, if you want to try and please everyone, but you still want to be Warhammer, it can be problematic. Anyways, I'm out of here. Be well, stay safe. I will catch you tomorrow on the main channel and here. And with that being said, I'm done. Peace, peace. Good night, everyone. Peace, peace, guys. Take care.